Kakadosh Boker Tov, we're continuing with the halachot of Refuah on Shabbat. It is permitted to take out a thorn if it gets stuck on Shabbat, so you're allowed to take it out with a needle or any type of a tweezer or anything. You're allowed to take out needles, or any types of thorns that came into the body. And that's actually going to be based upon the Mishnah on Shabbat and also the Rambam, and there's not going to be a problem. So he says, because you do not, and even if it is going to come and take out blood, you don't need the blood. So therefore, it's a melacha she'en tzricha legufa, which is only isud rabbanan. And here, since the person is suffering because he has this thorn inside of him, so he's allowed to take it out, right, without any problems on Shabbat. We already spoke about the taking care of burns on Shabbat. Now we go to the next one, which is taking off a scab. A scab is that after a person has a wound, the blood comes and it starts congealing. And once it congeals, right, it starts becoming thicker blood, and it makes what's called a scab. The scab, after a little while, it falls off, and then, right, there's no problem, because then ki'ilu, it completely, it's like a crust that comes on top of the blood, and then what happens is that it falls off later on. The geled shal gabei makai, you're allowed to take it off, and you're allowed to put on it oil. And the reason why you're allowed to take it off is that since at the end it will fall off on its own anyway, right? So therefore, the Shulchan Aruch says, right, that this is brought down. The Ksot Shulchan explains the Shulchan Aruch why is it mutar. He says because since it's going to fall off, so therefore it's not considered part of the goof. So since it's not considered part of the body, so therefore even though right now I'm coming and I'm going to take it off, obviously we're not talking about that you're taking off with blood, right? But if I'm going to come and I'm going to peel it off, right, this skin, right, which is hard skin, which is the scab, so therefore there's not going to be a problem. That's going to be to do with the scabs. Now the halacha speaks about bedikot dam. One second. Which one?
Blood comes out.
If blood comes out, so we said, if he's suffering, so just like the other case, if he's suffering and you don't need the blood, so therefore it would be permitted. If he's not suffering, so you're not allowed to take it out if blood will come out. If blood is still going to come out, it means that it's not that dry. Usually the scab, the drier that it is, when it's going to start peeling off or coming off, you will see that there's not going to be blood underneath. It's just like a new sheet of skin, which is going to be right underneath. Now we're going to go to the next halacha, which is bedikot damu zriko b'Shabbat. Are you allowed to have blood work done on Shabbat, or needle, or how do you call the injections? Whether it's going to be for it could be anything. It could be a COVID shot. It could be any type of an injection. So he says you're not allowed to do bedikot on Shabbat unless a person is a cholesh sheyesh bo sakana, because taking out blood is a melacha gemura. So therefore, since bloodletting is a melacha gemura, you're not allowed to do it on Shabbat. However, though, through a goy, you're allowed to do bedikot dam on Shabbat, even for a cholesh she'en bo sakana. Remember that a cholesh she'en bo sakana, you're allowed to do whatever you want through a goy only, not the Jew. For a Jew, if you're the doctor, you're the nurse, or you're the one that's doing it, you could only do it if it's a person that is cholesh sheyesh bo sakana. But to do the goy, he could come and he could do it. So if a person needed to do a very special blood work, or whatever the case is, and it's very pressing, and he has to do it, and now it's Shabbat, technically, since the goy is doing it to him, there's no problem. Obviously, he should try as much as he can not to be misayeh itself, even though there's machloket to do misayeh, when it means if you help out, is that considered that you did it or not? But forget about going into that machloket. You try basically that they come, they do all the work, and there's no problem. Now, to put on this needle, many times they have to put on top of a needle, for example, the injection. So they have the needle part, and then they put in this extra part which has the medicine or which has whatever it is. So he says you're allowed to put that as a one-off, even for a cholesh she'en bo sakana, and there's no isur of metakem mana. I mean, you're not fixing something. So therefore, to set up a needle in order to come and to give an injection to someone is not an isur. Now, what about actually applying it or giving it to a person? Right? So therefore, let's say a person's coming and they're going to give an injection to someone else. It could be with any type of an injection, whether it's a influenza, it could be the flu shot, any type of a shot in itself that it's going to have. And so he says it all depends. If it's not going to go inside of the vridim, it's not going to go into the veins, so therefore you're allowed to give it to even a cholesh she'en bo sakana. Why? Because usually blood does not come out. So since usually blood does not come out, but you're not putting it into the veins, so therefore it's going to be permitted. However, though, if you're going to put it right into the vein, so some people say that you shouldn't do it for a cholesh she'en bo sakana, because for sure it's going to take out a little bit of blood, and therefore he says, because that's how you know that it's actually going into the vein. And some people say that it is going to be permitted for a cholesh she'en bo sakana, because since it's not it's not chashuv, it's not considered melacha she'nitzricha l'gufa, it's considered melacha she'nitzricha l'gufa, and therefore again it would be permitted for, but since it's only going to be a drabanan, it would be permitted for a for chole she'en bo sakana. So therefore again, for sure though, if it's not going to be into the veins, for sure it's going to be permitted. The only question will be, it's a machloket, what happens if it's going into the veins, and therefore again you have the machloket between the acharonim, is it permitted or prohibited?